Are you ready for snow? Do you love it or do you hate it? What if I told you that this year could be very different from years past as far as the first arrival of snowflakes in your area goes? The fact that I am dedicating an entire video to this means that we are either in for a crazy winter full of intense cold blasts and giant blizzards, or it just means I'm a sucker for snow forecasts, especially the early ones. Nevertheless, in this video, I'm going to show you exactly when you're going to see your first snowfall this year, and I'm going to let you in on how I even know this information.
How do you know this stuff, Ryan? Is it the Farmer's Almanac?
No, it is not the Farmer's Almanac, okay? And let me tell you something before we get into the meat and potatoes here. Stuff like the Farmer's Almanac and any other crystal ball seasonal outlook that you can find out there is just purely for entertainment, okay? There's no science behind it. It's only right 50% of the time, which works in the 1700s, but today it means nothing. It's hard for even the best meteorologists on Earth to predict the weather just 1 week from now, let alone come up with seasonal or monthly outlooks. So what do? We want to know when it's going to snow, but there's no magical fortune teller of weather out there. Or is there? History is our best known tool that we can use to predict the future. If we look at years past and create a map that shows on average when a specific area sees their first snowfall each year, that will get us pretty darn close to being able to predict when you're going to see snow this year. And beyond that, we can use current weather data and trends to pinpoint areas where we might see snow either sooner or later than average. But first, we need that average snowfall map, so let's check it out. All right, looking at a big map of the US here. Here we go. We put a big fancy map together of the US here that's going to show us on average when an area usually sees their first snow. First and foremost, there are some areas here that have no data for this because they hardly ever receive snow. So in the pink, I'm sorry, I don't have a date for you. However, if we go forward in time a little bit, there are some areas in the south and in the southwest that do see snow on a semi-regular basis, but it's sporadic, okay? I still don't have a date for you here, but usually this is in January or February sometime when you guys see snow in the green. Moving right along, we can see the blue here indicates areas that are going to see snow on December 30th or a little bit afterwards. Pretty much January is when you can expect to see snow in areas like Memphis, Tennessee. And beyond this, we can start to get a little bit more detailed about the exact date when you're going to see snow, okay? Just based on historical averages. In the darker blue here, we're talking about any time between December 15th and December 30th, and this includes places like St. Louis and Oklahoma City. Now, if you're in the purple shading here, you can see snow between December 1st and December 15th, and that includes places like Washington, D.C. and Peoria, Illinois. Now, as we get into the darker shade of purple here, we're talking about seeing your first measurable snowfall between November 16th and December 1st, okay? This is Chicago, Detroit, a lot of the Northeast, especially on the coastal areas where we start seeing those nor'easters. That's why places like Boston are included in this, okay? But also way back into the upper Midwest, portions of Iowa and southern Wisconsin are also included in this. And then as we get into this pinkish color, you can see snow between November 1st and November 16th. And this includes all of the interior Northeast, a lot of the upper plains, and pretty much anybody that's not in the spine or the apex of the Rocky Mountains here out west. And speaking of them, everybody that shows up in the gray is going to be able to see snow at or around October 2nd. In fact, there's a couple areas in here that will likely see it even before then. We definitely see our first snow in Wyoming and portions of Montana and some very tiny areas in higher elevations in September most of the time. Now, looking at this, we can tell you when on average the first snowfall falls in an area in the lower 48. This gives us a really good foundation to start using current meteorology data to see how our current weather patterns are going to affect these averages to let us tell you exactly when you can expect your first snowfall this year. And currently we are in a La Nina pattern, and this usually means cold air builds up in Canada and releases itself in bursts to the south via the polar jet stream. These cold blasts of air usually avoid the deep south and pull in excess moisture across the Pacific Northwest. Additionally, we can look at some experimental forecast models like the CFS to add a little bit of weight to our predictions. And as you can see, it looks like September is going to be a little bit colder than average up here in the north, a little bit warmer in the the west as that ridge sets up. October looks like widespread warmth for a lot of people, but watch, as we head into November, we're starting to see an area of cooler than average air set up in the northeast and in the Pacific Northwest, okay? Now, let's combine this with precipitation forecasts. September looks drier than usual in the deep south and a little bit wetter than usual up here in the northern plains. October looks like a lot of the same, okay? We're wetter up here, we're drier in the south, but this really doesn't affect our first snowfall forecast that much. What's really interesting is that as we go into November, we're seeing a big area of dry air in the southern U.S. Once again, a little bit more moisture up here in the north and the northwest, and a lot of excess moisture off the coast of New England and into the northeast, okay? This pattern historically has led to early nor'easters in the northeast. Now, it's not going to happen every time, but I've seen this before, okay? If we get a big juicy storm coming up that side of the coast, a lot of times it's going to throw at least measurable snowfall back on the coastal areas somewhere. It might not be a blizzard, but it's going to be something. Now, after looking at all that information, putting it into my brain, formulating it, and then spitting out a forecast, I can tell you that I expect we are going to see snow earlier than average in the areas marked in the green here, and a little bit later than average in areas marked in the brown. I'm sorry, Chicago. I'm sorry, St. Louis. I think that those dates that we saw on the map earlier are going to be pushed back a little bit. And then somebody in the mid-Atlantic or up into the northeast is going to see a very early snow, especially since we're going to have a lot of that warm air out in the Atlantic Ocean, and we're going to have a lot of systems trying to ride up the coast in October and November. So if you look at this map that shows your average date for the first snowfall in your area and compare it to this map, you can infer pretty closely exactly when you're going to see snowfall this year. And I know people are going to rip me up in the comments being like, Ryan, I thought you were going to tell me the exact date, the exact time that I'm going to see snow. I'm disappointed. Listen, okay, not even me or not even the best meteorologist on earth can tell you the exact moment in time that you're going to see snow. This is not an exact science, but I know we have a lot of snow lovers on this channel, and I'm just wanting to have some fun, okay? This year, we're going to be doing several winter outlooks, and they're going to get more concise as we get closer to winter, and then we're also going to be going live for every blizzard and ice storm and snowstorm that happens this year. It's going to be fun. And to prove that I am the closest thing you'll ever find to a magical weather wizard with a crystal ball, I'm going to make a very bold prediction right now. I want everybody that lives in Chicago, Illinois to pay close attention. I hereby predict that the first measurable snowfall in Chicago is going to happen on December 5th, 2022. And to be even more concise, the first snowflake will be visible at Millennium Park at 7:05 p.m. on that day, okay? If I am wrong about this, I encourage every single one of you to come back and leave a big dislike on this video. I dare you to do it. You're gonna freak out if I nail that. You know you are. And speaking of snow, did you know that there's a way that you can get $1,000 just for measuring the snow and sending me a picture of it? This year on ShopRyanHall.com, we're gonna have these things called YOLOmeters, all right? They're giant measuring sticks that are made to measure the snow. Whether you've just got an inch on the ground or a big 2-foot snowdrift, this thing's gonna be able to handle it. We made them big and colorful so they look good on camera. So if you plan on following along this year and watching our snow coverage, grab one of these YOLOmeters off the site and send pictures of your snow totals in that will be shown live on the air. During every stream, we're gonna be picking random snow lovers to be put into a random name generator, and at the end of the stream, we're gonna pick one of these people and send them $1,000. And the only qualifier, the only thing that you have to have is one of these YOLOmeters. So make sure you go get one from ShopRyanHall.com. It's going to be super fun. And of course, it supports everything that we're doing here. If you order one today, keep in mind it might take a couple weeks for them to ship, but I promise it'll be there before your first snowfall, all right? Okay, this was a fun video. Thanks to all of our members over here. I really appreciate you. Once again, guys, this is kind of something different, something evergreen. I am going to get back to my regular forecast videos tomorrow or the next day, but I'm going to do videos like this once a month or so. So thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye. Ooh.